Well, hi everyone, Wellstarbursts here. Welcome back to another episode of my Minecraft interior design tutorial series. Instead of exploring new furniture designs, we're going to take a closer look at the visual element of space as it relates to Minecraft interiors. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, then you should probably refer to the third episode of Creative Mode on the VoxelBox YouTube channel to learn more about it. You can click on screen now, or there's a link in the description. After the creation of that video, I decided to venture into building for the first time in a few months by creating a house within a root in Kelmore. The goal of the project was to create the best interior I could and then analyze what I did in videos such as this one. So today we're going to examine what I will call spatial flow, and how I incorporated it into my build. For example, I have 4 rooms which can be gone into after entering my house in Kelmore. The entrance to the common area and stairs are equally sized, yet both are larger than the 2 entrances to the kitchen and the coat closet. Therefore, a player is more likely to walk either downstairs or into the common area. The same effect occurs once you get to the bottom floor of the house. If the player takes a right, they're more likely to go through the larger opening into the second common area rather than going through the small door into the bathroom. This kind of organization creates a greater sense of intuitive navigation for the player that moves through your interior. If you use different elements of design, such as how I used scale, you can draw players to different areas of your interior and effectively manipulate their walking patterns. Now that you know how to control where the player can walk, it's time to learn how to effectively use your new skill to create a fluid experience of navigation through your interior. The reason that I use small doors in places such as the kitchen and the bathroom is because those rooms are dead ends. I don't want people to be drawn to dead ends so that you have to turn back around. It ruins the fluency of navigation that you're trying to create within your interior. You want the player to be able to continue to walk forward while also being able to navigate the majority of your interior. You'll notice that all of the high priority spaces in my build lead to another space or create a loop back to where the player began. This method can keep the spatial fluency up and make navigating the interior easier for the player. Oftentimes, the interior space with which you are presented after completion of your exterior is much less organically shaped than the interior that I did inside the root. As a result, it may be harder to present the player with a sense of flow throughout your interior, as it's hard to break a linear path without blatantly breaking the player's sense of direction. Brent avoids this issue despite his house having a more linear appearance. He does so by providing spatial interest at the edges and corners of rooms in the form of thresholds which connect one room to another. As you move from threshold to threshold inside his house, we find that we walk through the side or corner of a room along some sort of path. We get a view of the entire room while walking by it, but we are never impeded by its contents or presence while traveling from room to room. You'll also notice that rooms that have dead ends do not have priority, and that only after walking through a couple rooms on the first floor do you get to a dead end. But a lack of dead ends does not justify a large open floor plan. Large and open spaces that have multiple congregations of furniture are just as confusing as a narrow hallway with lots of small doors that lead to different rooms. Although the two designs are polar opposites, neither does a good job of helping the player along through the interior effectively. There is no spatial priority in either scenario, and thus nowhere for the player to be guided. This leads to a confused player. How do we avoid a confused player? By simply using walls and openings in those walls. Note how I did not say doors. A more appropriate description would be threshold. Doors are a poor way to separate spaces if you are trying to give them priority. Instead, having a large opening and a large pathway leading up to it creates high spatial priority, and will lead the player along more effectively. The concepts of pathway are just as important as spatial priority. Without a pathway, there's no intuitive way to get to a destination of higher spatial priority, and thus, no sense of spatial flow to the interior. This is something that both Brent and I messed up while we were working on our interiors. Sure, from this perspective you see a point of spatial priority, but you can't really get to it without running close to the couch. If I were to edit this, I would just move the couch over a block or two to make a broader pathway to travel through. And that's all there really is to spatial flow in interior design. Just keep in mind how you separate spaces with walls, but also how you can connect them. While connecting spaces, think specifically about how you're drawing the player from one space to another and how they will travel from point A to point B. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe.